Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to be using a brand new image from Art Impressions, and I also want to show you the way I do no line coloring. It's a little bit different from your traditional way, so I thought I'd show you what I like to do. It's a little bit easier for me, and maybe it will be easier for you as well. Let's get started with this brand new stamp set from Art Impressions. This is called the Harvest Set, and it's part of the new watercolor journal series, and this is the fall collection, and there's several different stamp sets in this collection. Today we're going to be using that little basket with the pumpkins, but you can see there's lots of little scene builder items on that set. So for paper I'm using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock, and I'm going to be using my antique linen distress ink, not the oxide ink, but the regular ink, to ink up my stamp today. And I've placed that Bristol Smooth cardstock in my mini MISTI. I'm using my STAMPendable stamp press to press that out. Now I want to keep the stamping fairly light because we are going to be doing the no line coloring today. And so I'll stamp this 2 or 3 times. I'm just doing a light coating each time just so that it doesn't get too dark. So you can always add a little bit more if you need to. So once I have that stamped, you can see that there, I'm going to start my coloring. So for my colors today, I'm going to be using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and I'm starting with beige, orange, and bright yellow. I'm going to start defining that first pumpkin with the bright yellow, then I'll add a bit of that orange, and then I'll blend those two colors together. And then to add a little bit more definition to this pumpkin, I'm coming in with that beige. And here I am using my Zig blender pen to do my blending. Now, I hesitated to call this watercoloring, no line watercoloring, because I'm not using water here. I am using my blender pen to do my blending. And I know if you've watched my videos before, I tend to lean towards my blender pen. I just feel I have more control. And I wanted to show you another way you could color using this technique with the tools and products that you may be most familiar with. I think watercoloring is a bit intimidating for many of us, and so I thought, well, let me just give it a try using my blender pen and see how this works. So this is my first time doing this on camera, and I thought I would show you how I go about doing it. I'm not saying this is the right way. I'm just saying this is the way that works best for me. So if you've been kind of hesitating to give this a try, hopefully this video will encourage you to try it. It's really pretty easy, following the general rules that I do when I'm coloring with my zigs normally. And by the way, I am listing all the colors I'm using in that upper left-hand corner as we're going along. So again, the technique that I'm using is to basically define that image and then start pulling that color in towards the center. And if I don't feel I have enough of that color, I'm coming in over top. I can add more shadowing. I can add a second or third color if I want to. So I'm just kind of manipulating those colors as I go along. And you don't necessarily have to have more than one color. You can, here I'm using the smoky teal. I'm laying down some color and blending it out. So I'm not going to introduce a second color there. So I'll do all the little stems in the olive green and mid green. For the card today, I wanted it to look like my little dog is creating a painting. So that's the look I'm going for, that it's just a hand-painted image on a canvas. When we stamp the little puppy that we're going to be using in the card, we will be stamping that with some brown ink. That will be regular coloring on that, but I thought this should look like a painting. And here on the basket, you can see that I'm defining all those lines with the mid-brown, and then we can add a little bit of the beige and blend that out. And by defining those lines, they'll mostly stay as we do our blending. We can always come in with a bit more color, and you'll see that I will do that. We're going to add a bit more shadowing just to define everything. So again, I just wanted to share with you the way I do the no line coloring. It is a little bit untraditional, but it works for me. And I was a little bit hesitant to share this with you because it isn't the way that it's normally done, again, normally with the water. But I thought since it's working for me and I enjoy this process a lot, it's a lot of fun to do, it's very relaxing, I would share it with you. So, give it a try if you want to. It really is simple and easy to do. And don't worry too much. I just kind of have fun with it and enjoy the process. I'm not going to be too fussy with myself as far as getting everything totally perfect. I just want to enjoy it. And again, I wanted this little piece to look like a painting. And for the background, I'm just scribbling some of that light gray marker down onto my glass medium mat, and then I'm just picking it up with that blender pen and just adding a little shadow around all of these images, just to give it a little bit more depth. And down at the bottom there, I took some of that smoky teal and I just created a little bit of something for our basket of pumpkins to sit on. So I just added a few shadows there. And I will come in with a little bit of gray down in that bottom area as well. And I'm doing the same thing here with the orange. Now, I like to kind of let things dry and then I can take a look at it and come back in with more color. Here, I wanted some color, but I didn't want too much, so I just scribbled a little bit of the orange on my glass medium mat, and then I added a bit more shadow to that pumpkin on the bottom left. And here I'm just adding some little nails to the basket here, just putting a little dot of color and then blending that out. And for our little artist today, I'm going to grab one of these freebie stamps. These are from Art Impressions. This is the 2022 freebie collection. And you get one of these with a $35 purchase. So if you purchase $35 or more of merchandise, you can select one of these little freebie stamps. And today we're going to be using the little dog. And these are available while supplies last. And some of you collect these out there, so you may want to take a look at what's available. These are just so cute. And now I'm going to stamp this little dog with my Archival ink and in the vintage photo. And this is a permanent ink. So as I said before, I'm going to stamp this and color it in. The only portion I wanted to do as a no line coloring was the painting itself. So with beige and mid brown, I'm going to go ahead and color in this little dog. And I started off there with the blossom pink for the cheeks. And now here, I'll just define those lines with the mid brown, and then I'll come in with the beige. I'm going to add both of these colors at the same time, and then I'll just blend them together, creating some shadows here and there. And don't forget, all the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. So this little critter had his hand raised up, so I thought it'd be perfect for holding our little paintbrush. So we're going to be cutting away that little bird, but this would certainly be cute just the way it is on any card. All of these little critters are fun to add into your scene cards as well. So keep that in mind. There's lots of cute ways to use all of these. You could even do a little set of note cards with all the freebie critters. That would be really special. So again, I'm just adding my two colors together and then blending them out. And by stamping with the brown, it's not going to be too stark. I didn't want to stamp with black. I didn't want it to stand out from that painting too much. So I went with that dark vintage photo color just to kind of give us a nice crisp stamping, and then we'll just add some color to that. I'm going back to that smoky teal color that we used earlier to color in the little overalls. And then I just finished up with a little bit of orange on that little patch there. Then I dug through my stash and found in the craft bag and die set, there was a little collection of paintbrushes. So I'm just going to use one of these. I'll quickly stamp that again using that Archival ink in the vintage photo. I'm going to stamp that and then I'll quickly color that in. And we're just going to be using that paintbrush in the middle there, so I only have to color that one in. Going back to the beige and mid-brown, then I'm adding a little bit of orange to the tip of the brush. And some light gray for the center. So I'll use my detail scissors. We'll go ahead and cut that out. And again, that's going to sit in his hand. And let's go ahead and also cut out the little critter, and we'll leave a little white border all the way around. And I'm cutting away that bird, so we don't need that bird today. Now with my Lawn Fawn canvas and easel die set, I'm going to go ahead and cut out our little painting. And this will have a pretty stitch border around the edges, so I'm just centering that. I'll tape that down with some purple tape and run that through the die cutting machine. And I also want to die cut the little stool and the easel. And I'm using the Distress two-tone gray cardstock from the Christmas collection from Tim Holtz. And so it's this pretty gray wood grain. I'll go ahead and die cut these two pieces along with my painting. And then I'm going to die cut a couple more sections of that easel. I want to give it a little bit more dimension, so I'm going to run through the two parts of the easel there, kind of at the top and towards the bottom. The two pieces that look like it's holding that artwork in place, I'm just lining that up and die cutting that. So I'm just taking some scraps here, and I'll die cut those two sections, and then later on I'll do the same thing for that little stool as well. So I'll just cut away any excess that was die cut there. And again, this is just going to add some dimension. And I did decide to do that same thing for the little stool, so the top of the stool would also have a little bit more dimension as well. So I'll run that through the Sizzix Sidekick real quickly here and cut away any excess. And now I'm grabbing the second largest die from my rectangle A2 double stitch dies from Art Impressions, and I'm going to die cut from the Harvest Journal paper pack that beige and white stripe, and then also that pattern paper, that orange hexagon shaped pattern paper. For the orange portion, I just need a little piece for the bottom of my card. That will be the floor in our scene. So I'm going to use the Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive to glue that down to this beige and white striped pattern paper. And that Harvest Journal pattern paper is just beautiful. There's lots of really pretty fall colors in that collection. So now I'm using a sentiment from the Art Impressions Harvest Sentiment Set. And you can see all these fantastic sentiments that you get for fall. I wanted one that looked a little bit scripty, almost as though he painted it by hand. And so I'm going to stamp that at the top of my little basket with that vintage photo Archival ink. So I'm keeping the colors on this pretty muted. I don't want to add that dark black. I'm keeping that very soft with all those brown shades. So now I've got my white Signo gel pen and I'm adding a few highlights here and there. And then let's go back to the Distress ink. I'm just using my mini ink pad here and a foam applicator tool just to add a little bit of color. You could certainly use the larger pad as well. I just wanted to show you that it is available in the small and the large ink pads. So I'm just using that foam applicator and adding a little shadow around the easel and that little stool. And then I did decide to come in with a little bit of color around the edges of my painting. So I'm just kind of tapping that ink off onto the glass media mat first and then pushing some of it up onto the cardstock. I just want a very light shadow around the edges. Now that that's all set, let's create our card base. This measures 4¼ by 11 inches and I'm scoring it at 5½. That'll be a standard A2 size top folding card. So let's go ahead and glue this panel right on the front of our card. Again, I'm going back to that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive and I'll just center this. And then I'll also center that easel. So I'm placing some glue right here on the front. And now we'll place those two little strips at the top and bottom. It'll give it more, again, a look of dimension. And I'm using some Scotch foam mounting tape. And I'll just put a few little strips of it here. And then we'll pop these up. And I'll do the same thing for that little stool. And then we'll add some foam mounting tape to the back of this entire piece and pop that up on the card. So I'll just remove the backing and then we'll center this. And then we'll add that little stool down here towards the right. And now we can add our little dog and his paintbrush. So I'm just going to glue that brush down. And just so this lays nice and flush on the card, I'll add a little bit of foam mounting tape and then some glue. And I did decide to add a little tiny bit of foam mounting tape on that paintbrush just so that it wouldn't bend or get damaged as it went through the mail. So I did take a little bit of time to add that there. Now we can put him in place and he is just so cute. I'm adding some highlights with that white gel pen. And then to finish off the scene, let's add a few metallic matte gold pearls from the Pinkfresh Studio collection. And I'm using my Marvy jewel picker to pick those up and that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue those in place. So I just added a few at the top and the bottom. Let's take a look at the finished card. So we've got our no line coloring. I hope you give this a try. It's really fun and it's really easy to do. And again, just enjoy the process, have some fun with it. And then we've got that cute little easel and our little dog. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.